Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this live this evening and on this takeover. My name is Rosie. I'm a nutritional therapist, and this evening I'm going to be talking to you all about how to bounce back from burnout. So do me a favor. I'm going to just give it a few minutes before people arrive. We've got some people joining already. Yay! Guys, do me a favor. Just wave at me so I can say hello to you, and then I can pick you out and say hi and good evening. Who have we got on here? We've got hello, people are waving at me. Anna, hello. Abdullah, who else have we got? I can't pronounce these names. Fari, hello. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Yay. So excited to talk to you this evening. And how are you guys doing tonight? You can, if you want to comment, how are you feeling? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling burnt out? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling ready to go? Just put a little message in the Dropbox there for me. Hi everyone, everyone's waving at me. Just let me know how you're doing. I'm really excited to talk to you this evening. Like I said, my name is Rosie. I'm a nutritional therapist, and I'm going to be talking to you all about burnout and how to bounce back from burnout. So I want to make this 15-minute chat as engaging as possible. You can wave at me, ask me questions. I will do a Q&A at the end. I've got my slides here. Sarai, hey Sarai, nice to say thank you for saying hello. I will be looking at my slides just to go through, but I'm gonna crack on because I don't want to waste your time and you've probably got lots of things to be doing. So I'm going to be covering a little bit about me, who I am, and why I'm talking to you about burnout. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what burnout is and how do you know if you've burnt out. So I'll be talking to you a little bit about the red flags, so the warning signs to look out for. I've got my top 10 burnout recovery tips. So for anybody who feels like they're on the floor and they've burnt out and they're dragging themselves through the day, this is the place to be. I'm going to share with you everything I know about burnout. And at the end, you guys can ask me loads of questions. So I hope that's okay. A little bit about me, guys. So like I said, my name is Rosie. I'm a nutritional therapist. And why am I talking to you about burnout? Well, it's really simple. 7 years ago, on March the 6th, 2014, I was walking in the park when all of a sudden I felt really, really dizzy. And before I knew it, my knees went from underneath me and I collapsed to the ground. And I freaked out because nothing like that had ever happened to me before. So I basically climbed into a taxi, went home, climbed into bed, and I stayed there for 3 years straight. Right? I was completely paralyzed with exhaustion. I couldn't do anything. My whole life stopped. I couldn't work. I couldn't socialize. I couldn't exercise. And I found small tasks really challenging, like going to the loo, brushing my teeth. At my worst, I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. I was completely paralyzed with exhaustion. So I kind of did what anybody would do in that situation. I went off to the doctors and I said, please, can you run some tests on me? I've never, ever experienced this level of exhaustion before. And they were like, yeah, we'll get those tests done. But when the results came back, there was nothing wrong with me. I was normal. And the doctor just said, you're depressed. Here are some antidepressants. So I went home, climbed into bed, started crying, really exhausted, felt really alone, really frustrated, really bewildered, because I knew it wasn't depression. It was a level of exhaustion that I've never experienced before. And, I used to have lots of energy and I was running around, loads of energy, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. So I was determined to get to the bottom of what was going on. And I basically, ran loads of tests myself. I went to see loads of health practitioners. I did so much research and reading. And eventually everything was pointing to the same thing. And it was clear that I had severely burnt out. And you're probably wondering, what the hell was I doing when I collapsed to the ground that day? Well, I think that burnout, it basically creeps up on you. And I missed all the warning signs. I was working like a freight train, working at the speed of light, wasn't eating properly, wasn't sleeping properly, wasn't looking after myself. I said yes to everything. I think we've all been there. And there was loads of stress going on. One stress that didn't go away, then another one. They built and they built. And basically, one stress was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was it. I was in bed. My biggest message is you get burnout when your plate is already full, but you keep on adding to it. So this is why I'm talking to everybody now about how to get back on your feet, how not to burn out. And I've been on television, I've been on Sky News about the burnout battle. I've actually written a book, guys, called Burnout's a Bitch. It's basically your Bible on recovering from burnout. More on that later. I've written hundreds of articles about how to get back on your feet. I've been in the press and that kind of thing. So I really hope that you guys can take away one thing with you on this live and maybe take some notes, because if you change one thing, guys, there's an 80% chance that you'll stick to it, okay? So questions for you. Maybe just wave at me or put a little thumbs up in the chat box there, guys, if you think that you have burnt out. Maybe you think that you've burnt out, before the pandemic, or who thinks that they've wave at me, or just put a thumbs up emoji in the comment box, guys, if you think that you've burnt out as a result of the pandemic. Anybody? I've got loads of waves here. I think that means a yes. Okay. Does anybody feel like their anxiety has increased since the pandemic has hit? Just again, wave at me, guys, if you feel like your anxiety has increased. And what about your diet? How has your diet been? I've got Stacey, she's put a thumbs up there, yes. Who thinks their diet's gone out the window since the pandemic? We've got lots of highs, fives and waves, yeah, okay. So, right, I ran a poll on my Instagram not so long ago, guys, and I asked all my followers if all these questions. And the statistics were really scary. Basically, 82% of them said they had burnt out as a result of the pandemic. 65% said that they had struggled with loneliness. 75% said that their anxiety had increased, and 52% said their diet had gone out the window. So that's rubbish. So I want to share with you and just outline what burnout is so that you can see if it's sort of where you're at, right? So burnout is basically the inability to cope with modern life and multiple stresses, right? And it's actually so widespread now that the World Health Organization actually labeled burnout as a legitimate condition in 2019. And they say that burnout is basically a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And it's basically characterized by feelings of low energy, exhaustion all the time, increased mental disturbance from one's job, and reduced professional efficacy, right? So I want to share with you a little bit about the adrenals, where they are, what they do. Essentially, you've got 2 adrenal glands, and they're about the size of a walnut, about that big, and they sit on top of your kidneys. And they're your stress glands, right? They are responsible for you dealing with that fight or flight situation. So we've all been there. We've all had that saber-toothed tiger. Are we going to run from the tiger? Are we going to run away? That whole fight or flight response is down to your adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands essentially pump 2 hormones into the bloodstream at times of stress, and they are adrenaline and cortisol, right? So obviously over a long period of time, if we get one stress that doesn't go away, and then we get another one, and they build and they build and they build, our adrenal glands can become really fatigued, and you can suddenly just, get really exhausted. And I think the best way to describe it is that you're a shadow of your former self. That's how I would classify burnout, right? So I wanted to share with you the red flags. So I've got top 5 signs and symptoms. These are my top 5 red flags, guys, to look out for. So I'm going to sing them out, and I want you to just wave at me if you think you have them, right? So number 1, red flag number 1, you are extremely exhausted all the time. Does anybody want to wave at me if that's you? Or put a thumbs up? So I'm getting all these peace signs as well. Anything, guys, just talk to me. Tell me if that's you. You're extremely exhausted all the time, okay? Number 2, you wake up in the morning, even after a good night's sleep, and still feel tired. Is that you, guys? Wave at me if that's you. Number 3 is that you experience dizzy spells. Does anybody experience dizzy spells throughout the day? Number 4 is that you've lost your drive and your motivation. And number 5 is that you find small tasks challenging. So those are my key signs. I've got lots of people saying yes. I've got lots of thumbs up, waves, yes. People are thumbs upping at me. So my top 10 burnout tips, guys, is to number 1, make sure that you're eating adequate food, so adequate calories here, around the clock. So, I've been doing this for many, many years, and I have patients that come to me in my clinic, and I specialize in burnout. And I always see burnout patients are under-eating. And what's more is that they're under-eating and they're over-exercising, right? But you have to remember that when you're fatigued, food in is energy in. But most people are under-eating, so they're more exhausted, and they're over-exercising, so their energy output is even more, which is crazy, right? So you've got to make sure that you're eating adequate calories around the clock, okay? So like literally eating every 3 to 4 hours. That's what I see is really effective for people with burnout. Men need 2,500 calories per day, and women need 2,000. So just make sure you're eating around the clock and adequate calories. Don't skip meals, don't skimp on meals, and intermittent fasting is not for you, okay? Stacey the stylist. Hello, Stacey. Yes, too much caffeine. Absolutely. That's actually tip number 3, so I'll come back to that in a second. Well done. And I'll talk about how caffeine affects the adrenal glands. It's very fascinating. So what else? Number 2 is, hang on, where are we going here? Yes. Number 2 is to make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense food. So don't rely on, empty calories. I see a lot of people, eating nutrient-dense food. And, when you're burnt out and you're stressed, so many times you're actually deficient in lots of nutrients, like magnesium, right? 50% of the population is deficient in magnesium, and stress is the biggest robber. So if you want to increase your magnesium-rich foods, guys, it's dark green leafy vegetables. That's things like kale, broccoli, spinach. So make sure that you're having adequate fruits and vegetables, because these are the powerhouse of nutrients, right? But most people are eating foods that are devoid of nutrients. And when your body is fatigued, it needs vitamins and minerals like B vitamins, vitamin C, magnesium, right? B vitamins is the vitamins that gives you energy. You need B vitamins at a cellular site to manufacture ATP, which is your body's energy molecule, right? So number 3 is to make sure that you're avoiding caffeine. You're absolutely right, Stacey. If anybody's feeling brave, put in your comment box there how many cups of coffee you're having per day. I want to know how much coffee you guys are drinking. I've just got a question here. Yes, is it good to take magnesium just before you go to bed? Absolutely. You can take 200 milligrams of magnesium before you go to bed, or you can take it in a powdered form. Why it's so good for bedtime is because magnesium dilates the blood vessels, which means that all of the blood flow and the nutrients can go through, and it's a major muscle relaxant. So for that reason, it helps to relax you. So really good. Stacey's drinking 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day. We've got somebody else saying 1 cup. That's fine. Listen, guys, I'm okay with 1 cup of coffee a day. However, if you're the type of person that gets that jittery, shaky feeling when you have coffee, right? That means that your liver doesn't have the enzymes to break down the caffeine in coffee, right? And caffeine is like superficial energy. It's like you take it, it gives you that initial hit, and then you have that slump. So it's like if you're burnt out, guys, drinking coffee is like whipping the adrenal glands, like whipping a dead horse. Like temporarily, you're going to have that fix, and then you're going to crash afterwards. So just word of warning there, guys. 1 cup of coffee a day is fine, but if you're burnt out, no more. All right? Good. Number 5, cut out sugar and refined foods. So maintaining energy levels throughout the day, guys, is all about balancing your blood sugar levels, right? If you start your day with a bowl of sugar, and then you have a snack and it's sugar, and then lunch is loads of sugar, you're going to have that blood sugar hit and then that crash. I call it the blood sugar roller coaster, right? And we've all been there. We all experience those highs and then those slumps. It's really important to make sure that you're having protein at every meal and snack in order to balance your blood sugar levels. So if you start your day with protein, you're much more likely to have more energy throughout the day and less crashes. Would that be good? Give me a wave if you'd like more energy. So that means in turn that you also have to cut out sugar and not go too heavy on the sugar, right? Good. So tip number 6 is to slow down, right? No amount of pushing will heal burnout. Rest and patience are the bottom line. And I often find that you can't recover when you're going 100 miles an hour. And I always say to my patients, where can you pull on the reins? Where can you slow down? Where can you take a break? Where can you take time out? Because you will not recover unless you're doing these things, all right? Tip number 7 is to identify your stressors. So do you know what or who is stressing you out right now? Have a little bit of time to think inwardly about who is your biggest energy zapper right now, or what is your biggest energy zapper right now. Because if you don't remove that out of the equation, it's like adding fuel to the fire. And again, if you're not going to remove the stressor, you're going to find recovering from burnout quite difficult and quite slow and quite long. And then certainly in my experience, I found that, as soon as I removed my stressors, my energy started to increase, which is really interesting. Okay, tip number 8 is sleep. Right? Sleep is absolutely paramount, guys, for the recovery of the adrenal glands. That's because when you're sleeping, that is when your adrenal glands are manufacturing the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. How many hours of sleep are you guys getting per night? Come on, be brave, be honest. It's a Wednesday. I want you to share with me how many hours of sleep you're getting per night. Put on average, guys, in the comments below. If you're feeling brave, you can tell me how much how many hours of sleep you get. So the hours of sleep, guys, you get between 10 o'clock and midnight are the most boosting. So make sure you're asleep within that window. Stacey says 5 to 6. That's not great, oh children, that always comes afterwards, yeah. Someone else says 8, well done. 6 to 7. We need to be getting at least 8 hours of sleep per night, guys. And that's just to function normally, right? Not optimally. So get to bed early, try CBD, try the CBD capsules or the tinctures. I find them really good for just reducing anxiety if your mind goes round and round at night. So tip number 9 for bouncing back from burnout is setting boundaries, right? Learning to say no without explaining yourself. So set boundaries. And the best way to set a boundary is to start small and be consistent with it. And I always think that setting boundaries is just as important as setting goals. And then my last tip for bouncing back from burnout and recovering from burnout is setting up a support network, right? Because quite often when you're burnt out, you're knackered and you can't do much. I mean, on a good day, you can just about cook a meal for yourself, right? So, setting up a strong support network around you might be asking for help. So asking your spouse to do the cooking for you, asking your sister to basically run out and run some errands and do the shopping, or talking to somebody, having a friend to talk to every week at the same time to share how you're feeling. I mean, my twin sister, when I was bedbound for all those years, she was my lifeline, and she would come in almost every day and just chat with me. And literally, I would feel so much better just by talking to her, because a problem shared is a problem halved. So just remember that, guys. Good. So I've whizzed through all of those. I want to open it up to you guys so that you can ask me any questions. Does anybody have any questions for me? Any questions about your diet, about recovering from burnout? I'd love to help you. Now is your time. Just pop in the comments box there, guys, if you've got any questions. In the meantime, I just wanted to share a little bit about my new book. It's a beautiful book. I want to share it with you. It's called Burnout's a Bitch. And I wanted to show you how lovely all these recipes are. But essentially, it is your Bible for recovering from burnout. So it's basically a 6-week recipe and lifestyle plan to reset your energy, get you back on your feet once and for all. So I basically cover everything that zaps your energy, all the foods you need to be eating to give you energy, all the foods to avoid, which supplements to take and why, which tests you can do to get to the bottom of your fatigue. I talk about how to master your mindset, how to manage stress, and then it breaks into a 6-week meal plan with over 70 brand new recipes, all of which are designed to give you energy. So check it out. I'm going to put my my @ here. I'm on Instagram as Miss Nutritionist, because it'd be great to connect on there. And like I say, my book's available now on Amazon, and the link's in my bio on Instagram. There we are, guys. So it's been great to chat to you. I've got a couple of questions here. What are the best foods for good skin? Collagen is my number one answer, Stacey. Basically, make sure you're eating adequate protein. Protein is the building blocks for good skin. So that's things like animal meat. So that's chicken, fish, eggs, or vegetarian sources of protein, like tofu, chickpeas, lentils. But collagen powder is brilliant. I've been taking collagen powder. You can take marine-based collagen powder or pigs-based collagen powder, because it helps to rebuild the cytoblasts in your skin, and it basically makes the skin really strong and thick, and it really helps to grow your hair, your skin, and your nails. And I've been taking it for about a month now, and I've really noticed my skin looking plumper. So you can just chuck it in your smoothies every morning. So collagen powder, lots of protein, making sure you're drinking adequate water and not having foods that dehydrate you. So coffee dehydrates the skin, and not having too much alcohol. So I hope that helps. Any other questions? We had the one about magnesium. We got a skin question. Is it good? Yes. Too much caffeine is bad for you. Any other questions, guys? No? I think that's it then. Well, look, I've really enjoyed talking to you. It was just a whistle-stop tour to recovering from burnout. I really hope that you can take something away with you. I've got one question here. Do you think having 2 meals in a day is enough? No, definitely not. Like I said before, women need 2,000 calories per day and men need 2,500. You'll find that if you're only having 2 meals a day and you're not getting adequate calories in, your energy will suffer, especially if you've got a really stressful job and you're working out loads, or you've got a demanding life with children, to-do lists. It's not recommended, especially if you're burnt out. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to leave you guys to it, because you've been listening to me for 20 minutes now. Like I said, please connect on Instagram. It'd be great to hang out there. That's where I'm always hanging out. Thank you so much for listening. And over and out for now. Have a good evening. Bye.